Hello, hello. Happy Saturday. Oh, it looks like the 40 club is here. Hey Sapphire. Hey Nix. Hey Arneo. Rhiannon Journey. Hey everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Sorry for the late start. Still a little under the weather, so I slept in and I got my breakfast, went on a nice walk. But here I am ready for whatever it is that we do. I guess technically we're making an isometric FTL-like in Godot. You can actually be here for a while today, unlike yesterday. Nice. Did you miss anything big? We got a 300-person raid from Lana Lux, but otherwise, no. I only panicked a little. It's fine. She's very sweet. She raided us, I think, during Spring Ludum Dare last year as well. She has a nice community. I mean, she uses Unity, but other than that, she's great. I think she's still on Unity. Historically, I feel like that's true. We scared them away. Yeah, we did our best. We did our best. Oh, I like this new writer logo for 2025. That was nice. All right. What we're doing is we're changing our little input model. If we recall. And I'm kind of torn. We'll talk about the two options that I'm torn between. We've also been kind of like, the VODs have been kind of like blowing up on YouTube. Not like huge, obviously, but like YouTube is showing us to people and they're watching it and they're enjoying it. And it's crazy to me. This is our year. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. Look, Nix, I did my best to hold on to people. No, it's fine. Big raids like that, I think like 60% of the people drop off before like in like the first 10 seconds, if they even come over at all. But it was cool. It was fun. People were nice. We got some follows. It's you who are boring? Oh, yeah, it was chat's fault. Okay. I can live with that. All right, so here are my thoughts. So we recently just changed this to be like, we just changed it so that when you place a block, it sits above the grid position. I thought this was better, and I think from a number of standpoints, it strictly is to have the block sit on top of the grid position. I think the one way in which it is worse is in like any kind of grid or outline setup. Maybe also in terms of selection as well. That's what I want to think about before we like 100% go in on this. I feel like keeping 25 to 30% of the raid for that long is good. Yeah, I think there's a fall off, but there's a surprisingly large number of people just that are kind of down for whatever. Which means they're either, it's just in the background and they're not listening to it, or they have it muted and they forgot the tab was open, or like whatever. I know I'm like that when I'm just kind of, if I'm working and I just have Twitch on, I'll get raided through like 3 different people and I'll be like, where are we now? But yeah, cursor tile priority is, I think, an interesting question. So you either want it to be underneath everything, like this, like it underneath. And I think in terms of like placing blocks, that's good. There is one aspect to it that I don't love, which is that if you're selecting the tile behind it, you might be looking at this tile. So like assuming tile 4 or block 4 here, block 4, priority 4 is on the origin tile. That means if your cursor is on the -1, tile, you might still be pointing at the block on at grid 0, 0. The alternative to that, we can just do that like this, is that if the block is here, it's on 0, 0. Then if you're on -1, 1, you're definitely not looking at block 0, 0. However, if you're on what do you call it? If you're on tile, 1, 1, you might be looking at block 0, 0. Assuming there's nothing, in front of it. So I don't know. I don't know what I prefer. I have to kind of think about that for a second. Whether I prefer to have everything in the front. And then we have to search through blocks as we're basically searching back to front. We're going to start at the origin and search our way forward towards the camera when we're doing this stuff. And so I don't know if I care, if I would prefer if we looked backwards from wherever the cursor is or not. I actually think I like it better if it's underneath, now that I'm thinking about it. Because then we only ever have to search forward. We never have to, like, double back and then search forward. So I think I prefer this. I think we're going to keep this, where you place the stuff on top of the grid thing. And if we need to do an overlay, we'll just have an overlay with the same offset as everything else, and it won't matter. It'll be fine. All right. Crisis averted. Sorry, I stopped watching the chat for a second. What's the plan for today? Don't tell you, map editor. Working on the map editor in Godot F512. Yeah. Probably not F512, but yeah. Who knows? It's kind of worth it that, we're doing this. Imagine if we had built up more systems using the same old block pattern. Like, imagine if we hadn't decomposed our block and if we'd built a large chunk of the game using this block model. Could we have even changed it? That's why I'm skeptical of, like, the go wide strat, where you, like, initially develop a whole bunch of systems, because all you're really doing is creating this crazy web of constraints without really drilling down into each one to figure out what the system should be. Obviously, there's a counter risk of I might, finish this new system and then realize it's not fun because I didn't test out the gameplay. That's the other side of the coin, but I'll take that. I'd rather try to determine as many of our core technical constraints as early as possible. Because for me, the cost of redoing everything is pretty high. So yeah, we're going to do it like this. So if your cursor is way back behind here, we're going to do a search. We're going to search forward. We're going to search forward using this pattern. We're going to look for our block. Then we'll look at 3 blocks in front of it. What we can do as well is we can tell. So we can do something neat here, which is that we can tell which side of the block we're on. I don't know what colors I should select for this. Maybe like red and green or something. Red for X. But we can tell whether our cursor is over. I should just be using, whatever. Fill. There we go. We can tell whether we're on the right or the left side of a tile. I think that's all we can tell. Well, hold on. We can tell where we are within the tile. How is that useful to me? So that does help when we're doing this left and right split. Like, we could tell if we're on... Here, let me finish my little stupid diagram. As you always iterate when board game nights, fun is overrated. You know, that feels very authentic to board game nights. A number of board game nights I've done where like most of the night is spent by someone trying to explain the rules of a game that they insist is fun, but no one believes them. Like, there's nothing like spending a few hours having the rules of Twilight Imperium explained to you and then just proceeding to get your ass kicked. All right. Christmas colors. So we can tell which side of the tile the cursor is on. And what we can do with that information is we can direct the search forward. So if we know we're on the right side, when we get to priority group 3, we can tell that we only need to search this. So actually, the search pattern system is even simpler than I'm saying here, huh? So if I'm at this cursor, I need to search. I need to look at this block. And then next, all I actually need to do is look at the block that is in front of, that is 1x coordinate along. And then I need to look at the block that is, hold on a second here. Okay, the x along, and then the x plus the y. And then the x plus the y plus the z. Oh, that is such a simple search. I don't know why I thought that was more complicated. We literally just look plus x, plus y, plus z. And we just keep adding those. Okay. This is going to be way easier than I thought it would be. Right. I don't know why I thought it was going to be hard. So that's nice. Although, am I 100% sure of this? Okay, no, that's not quite it. That's not quite right. So what if that's if we're directly on the tile here? What do we do? Oh, no, that holds. That holds true. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically be building out this array of block hits. We're basically creating a raycast like collision, like a hit list. It's not usually what people mean by hit list, but okay, people said they didn't like, and by people I mean Arneo said they didn't like cursor casting system as the name for this, so we'll rename it to the cursor mapping system. You don't remember saying that? It might not have been you, but I've chosen you to blame. But it's true, you don't like it. All right. Hey, Hojirik. Hola, hola. You almost fell prey to Twilight Imperium? Nice, nice. That's funny. Yeah, everyone has a friend that tells them that they would love, that it tries to convince them they would like Twilight Imperium. Don't believe them. All right, so we're gonna make our little cursor mapping system. I think this is gonna be pretty easy. What we're gonna use is this tile mapping vector here. All we really care about is the z coordinate of this, it looks like. Well, obviously we care about x, y, but I don't know if we necessarily care about the w component of the tile mapping struct, but we're not gonna worry about that. So what we need to do, what do we need? We need an array that we keep track of, so we'll have a buffer. We'll hold it in a buffer so that it can be referred to frame by frame. Or are we just going to rebuild it every single frame? We might just rebuild it every single frame. We'll still do it with the buffer. Why not? Who cares? So we'll have a entity ID. We'll call it like the... I kind of like the name hit list. We'll need to create this thing. How do we normally do that? Create the empty entity. Well, we need a... Do we need something to store here? Oh yeah, we do, because that's how we do this. How's everyone's weekend going so far? All right, I guess I should talk about what we're trying to do here a little bit in terms of like how the demo would actually be. I'm trying to acknowledge the fact that we're getting new people in the VODs every day. I should probably talk about what we do a little early. Why? I keep going down. Okay, there we go. All right, so we make our thing. We're on the bottom here. It's been chill, so not too bad for you. Has mine been? Pretty good, pretty good. I'm still getting over some kind of sickness that popped up a few days ago. I've been having a rough winter in terms of just like, I've gotten sick 3 times since Thanksgiving, which is crazy for me. I don't know what's up with that. So right now we're locked into a particular Z level, and you can see how natural it is when you're like this. You can see the block following my cursor around. You can see how unnatural it is once I go down a Z level though. It's not really reflecting my selection correctly. It's trying to place a block on top of the cursor. And it looks good when you're locked into the Z level. And this is the effect we're trying to recreate without having to strictly hard code the Z level. Because right now the scroll wheel is just moving me up and down Z levels. Which is kind of hard to tell. It would be easy to tell if I implemented re-implemented the shadow casting thing. So if we cast a shadow down from here onto the surface, it would be very clear what's going on. It's been a pretty chill day doing house chores, trying to gather the energy to do some dev. I'm behind on house chores, I will admit to that. So what we want is just when we mouse over a face, we put a block in front of that face. Unless no block is selected, in which case we should just select the block. But yeah, what we need is our little fake little raycast system. We need to pretend that we're raycasting into the scene like you would in a 3D game. Because while this isn't a 3D game, it does play one on TV. Starting to eventually think that we might need to go back to doing a separate outline layer. I don't want to do that though. But I can see some situations that might come up where we might need to do that. Specifically around the way I'm cheating with some of the corners. I've like added exceptions to the corners, which works fine now as long as we have a flat texture, but once we start adding textures, I'm a little concerned. We'll see. I guess it depends on whether we do these kind of additively or not. As like decals, like any details on the walls. We'll see. All right, so what we need is a new buffer component. Used to be like cursor coords. You keep going back and forth on the outline, separate outline layer thing. It makes some things easier. It makes some things easier, but it obviously doubles the number of layers we need. Because I'm cheating and I've removed a couple of corner cases where the corner would normally show. And I've removed it because it doesn't look good. And that's fine as long as it's not textured. But as soon as it's textured, like if you have a corner piece that's textured, if I just get rid of that piece because I don't like the way the little black corner piece, the single little black corner pixel looks, you'd still need the corner texture piece. And so you can't really handle that if it's combined, but you could handle that if the outline was a separate layer. All right, so we'll make a component, even though I don't really want to, but we'll do it. Big failure of my ECS is that the vast majority of our components are buffer components, but that's because so far the only data we've really developed is like spatial data because we're working on the block editor tool. I'm really hoping that, I mean, it's still a nice way to hold on to and allocate and refer to contiguous blocks of memory. So it's not like it's a waste of time, but it's like not what I originally had hoped, I guess. We're going to say cursor coords buffer. It's not 3D. It's not a 3D buffer. It's just a cursor coords buffer. So 1D buffer. What's another 1D buffer? Cutaway rooms. Let's take this. I don't have my autocomplete. Int length, iBuffer component. After 3i. Public read-only record struct. Am I using the community toolkit version of this? No. I'm just using the regular one. I don't like how I have to shuffle these around every time I do one of these. I mean, I know I technically don't. I really shouldn't try to shuffle these around every time. It's kind of a dumb, but I've been doing that. I like started out not doing it alphabetically, and then I went into alphabetical, and then it's because I want entity ID to be first for some reason. I want to eventually figure out a way to maybe move away from this way I define components. But not today. All right, new component defined. This music is strange. I realize I'm still on the cinematic radio, huh? I'm gonna play the chill guitars radio, I think. Wait for the song to end here. Oh, Sapphire, thanks for the stretch. Thanks for the hydrate. Oh, Sapphire, your project is kind of taking a back seat while you have other things you're trying to get going. You do plan on getting back to it in the hopefully somewhat near future? Yeah, no worries. Take your time. You gotta sort out your own stuff first. Hey, Magoo, what's up? Have it hanging. I have to define a... It'd be cool if I could create an entity with a composition. It doesn't really do anything though. It doesn't add any components. Set component entity ID. Yeah, this doesn't quite... I don't think this quite works. Would like to be able to... What we gotta say? Instead, we have to say game.world.add empty buffer component. Cursor cohorts buffer. Cursor hit list. That's all we need. That's what the project's taking back seat for. You're trying to get over your own anxiety and actually start getting yourself out there for your accounting business. That'd be awesome. Remember, it's our year. Magoo, you're going to be AFK a bit. Go back from your garage. Oh, man, it's cold out there, it sounds like. Kapla, Mr. Magoo. You made your OS stable. That's great. You know. All right, so we're going to do this. We got our little cursor hit list. What we're going to do is, I guess we'll get it. We'll say... Do I usually call it entity or something? You'd say like buffer, read, write, vector 3i, hit list blocks, hit list cohorts. You don't like doing back-to-back raid masters? CA2 is about to hit 45 hours. All right, if they're still live when we're done, that's okay with me. Take it easy, Magoo. Arneo, you did just add anxiety to your drive plume. I think it looks better with some jitters. Oh yeah, it looks great. I was looking at that earlier. Let's go grab that. Yeah, this is looking good. Look at this. That's nice. It's looking real nice. Yeah, I find that the particles kind of finicky to get right, but man, once you get them right, they look so good. Nice, very nice. Wait, how do I get my buffer? Oh, I declare a new buffer. It's so awkward. I guess it's not that awkward. There we go. Hey, the ant. Yo, I wonder who made that above the jet flames, that video. Oh yeah, I saw that too. That was good. You're working on your Skylanders game. Sick. Yeah, this is fun too. It's cute. Don't get sued by anybody. Is this not Spyro? It shows how much I know. Looks like Spyro. I like the fireballs. Oh, look at him jump. Very cute. Buff the magic dragon. It is Spyro? Okay, yeah. I can't keep track. Alright, so we get our hit list, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this thing. What we'll do is we'll keep track of what the previous coordinate was. We'll say like public, well, maybe private, vector. Actually, I might want this to be public. Call this cursor mapping. I'll say cursor coords, I guess. That way we can keep track of the cursor coords. What we can do is we can say like say like if input dot tile game dot input dot tile mapping not equal to cursor coords. So if we know the cursor's moved, we'll do a rescan. Honestly, we probably should do a rescan either way. Should we? Oh yeah, because you could place a block and then need to rescan. What we should do is we should try to figure out if there is you know what? We could say bool structural change. So that's what we do with the block. Well, we call this here sync buffer changes, but I should probably just call it structural change. So this way we could say if that doesn't, or structural change. Are you crazy for having a popsicle when it's 25 degrees Fahrenheit out? Just 269 Kelvin. The Kelvin is killing me. Yeah, you're a little crazy. I don't know, Nix. Nix, you seem to be an ice cream enjoyer in the cold. They exist. Hey, the ant with the 3-stream streak. Immediately, Nix pops in with a no, you are not crazy. It's funny. I should think like that because I'm in San Francisco, and the number of days where it's actually warm enough that you're like, oh, I need to cool off with an ice cream is like, there's like 3 weeks maybe total. So I should get into the whole ice cream in the cold thing. I'd get to eat a lot more Its, the San Francisco treat. But I don't. And that's, you know, that's maybe a shame. Where's my civic pride if I'm not just eating Its in the cold? You had ice cream earlier? Nice. The latest of my 3.6 is like has the most of like nausea associated with it. It's kind of not, it has not been the most fun. But I would like something like that. That would be nice. Using di.io. Yeah. Why is the directive not oh. Do I use that elsewhere? Do I like take a shortcut? Input equals di.io.input. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I only need that here. You know, I actually don't want to see if the whole... Yeah, I guess I do, actually. All right, so I guess it's part of the block editor system group, or it's at least going to be invoked by the block editor system group. Maybe we just run it every frame. I think it's just better to run it every frame. Although, hold on, we need to run it before the block sculpting system, huh? Well, no, we don't want to run it every frame because we don't want to run it when we're in the middle of like a click drag thing. It was a snowstorm outside today when you went for noodles. You enjoyed a nice cold ice cream after and said snowstorm. Nice, nice. Yeah, it rained. It poured rain this morning. And then I went out for my breakfast and it was like sunny somehow. But it poured rain to the extent when I looked out my window, like the street was like a little creek. Like there was just rushing water down the whole street. Snowing less and less every year. It only started snowing around 2 days ago when it finally hit freezing temperatures. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, it used to rain almost all the time in San Francisco. The joke was, when I was a kid, the joke was like, if you came up to San Francisco, it doesn't matter what the weather report said, it would rain a bit. That is no longer the weather pattern in San Francisco. Very sad. I'm only getting to the age where I have like, you know, a long enough memory where I can like actually detect like long-term weather pattern changes. All right, so how are we going to do this? Because the thing that I'm concerned about, maybe I'll run this a little bit. The thing that I'm concerned about is what you're doing after you click. So like when you do a click drag motion like this, I don't know if I want it to like reinterpret your height, you know? Like if you're over here and you do a click drag and you happen to touch the blocks over here, I don't want you to like all of a sudden like jump up to the next level. I only want it to be recalculated when you release your controller. I don't want it to be recalculated as long as, unless you scroll. If you actively scroll, actually, if you actively scroll in block build mode, there should probably be different behavior than when you like click, hold, and scroll. I wonder if you should have different behavior in edit mode versus play mode for that. I'm actually not 100% sure about that. Sapphire, where you are, you've had pretty good amount of snow this week. You want to say somewhere between 1.5 and 2 feet? Oh, nice. That sounds good. I don't quite know what I want to do in that case. You mind seeing that I'm like overemphasizing player input mechanisms, but like I feel like that's the most important thing of a game. Is like, what are the affordances the player has to interact with the game? That's like the game, right? Like that's like the core. If you're not thinking about that, you're making like a simulation. Or yeah, more of a simulation. If the like player's input is like a secondary concern. So this seems like a worthwhile thing to like figure out, but not quite sure what I want to do yet. Still pretty hard to tell some of this stuff. Move to Western New York. You can have lake effect snow as well. Yeah, the lake effect is the craziest thing that I've seen. I have never seen it in person, but I've seen pictures. I saw a lake effect photo of like Chicago that looked like The Day After Tomorrow, like the snow apocalypse movie from like the mid 2010s. Crazy. Lake effect is crazy. The Pacific is a very moderating force for us out here. It protects us from the cold and the heat. It's we're very lucky. All right, so how do I want to do this? I want to consider whether the mouse is down, which means I need to track that. I don't think we communicate all of that information in a single event. Let me look at the input flow. I didn't think this was going to be a quick change, but it's a little more complicated than I thought. No, not the input map, the input handler. Okay, so this is being tracked. It's being tracked, but a context is being assigned to it. And we're doing that probably here. Hey, the aunt, you live in New York? No kidding. Track the mouse? Just get a cat. You're funny. Sapphire, it's been weird for you the last few years. You lived in Oregon, in a valley for most of your life. You just got rain in the winter, then moved. Now you're actually getting to experience real winter. Nice. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think I'm very delicate. I think I'm like a delicate California flower. So I'm afraid of like real cold. But I want to go somewhere where it like rains literally all the time. And I don't mean like tropical rain. I feel like someday I'll be up in the Seattle area. I want to at least go up there and like live there for a year and see what it's like. Don't get cold? Come here, brother. Hey, Ezra. What timing? Yeah, I'm going to give it a try someday. I got rent control, so, you know, don't hold your breath, but... How's it going? How's it going, Ezra? How many projects we working on? It's 2026. How many projects we got? Tricky question, is it? Or is the question tricky or is the answer tricky? You just launched a 30-day beginner Godot course? Oh, sick. Okay. Super cool. So at least for a few weeks, we'll be focusing on that. Nice, nice, nice. Is it like a 2D or 3D? That's awesome. You're trying to make some promotional videos and such. Get that evergreen. Get them make it rain evergreen content. 2D, awesome. Awesome. Teaching and coding and such. It's a paid course. That's cool. It's a paid course. Wow. Are you doing it through boot.dev or like Udemy or something? Trying your best to test and such. That's awesome. That's super cool. You're going to be like Thomas Brush levels in no time. It's like a Blackboard lesson thing. You have a front page, but a team reached out to you. You're just working through that. Oh, cool. You're doing it like independent. All right. Sick. That's cool. All right, so here's my problem, I think. So we have some state tracking here on the Godot side in terms of the input, how the input's coming in. We've got this amid selection. The problem is that state is not communicated over to the C# side except as just events that are being recorded in the input handler. So my options are is action just released? Select input handler.end selection, input handler.continue selection, input handler end interaction, input handler.continue interaction. So I think that selection should maybe not work the way that I'm talking about, but the interaction probably should. Actually, I think this is going to be a edit time versus play time difference, which is neat. Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds great, Ezra. That sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds really cool. You didn't answer the question about how many projects you got, though. I'm guessing 6. Maybe 7. All right, so I think I understand what I want to do here. We're adding like a fake raycast style input. But there are some complexities because there's times where I don't want to recast the ray and I want to just operate on the current depth that we're at. And it's not depth in terms of like length of the ray. It's depth in terms of like the Z index that we're at, the Z level. It's a little weird. So when we do one of these, continue selection, edit tool, select, coords, continue. So we really just need to read the input and look at the end. Well, we need the coords as well, obviously. Oh, so I guess we are going to be reading the input, huh? Unless we want another system to read it and to just store the state, which kind of makes sense because we might not receive input every frame. But we want to hold on to whatever that state was, maybe? Maybe not. Huh. This also isn't an edit. Oh, it's edit time, right? So we can have a play version of that. Okay. Okay. I have some ideas. Historically, what I've been doing is I've just been storing the state in this input singleton so that it's available like across multiple frames if necessary. But how would I actually want to record this? Let's look at the editor tool just to see how the editor tool is making sense of it. Because this is the one that's consuming most of these inputs. Change the radio again. All right, hold on to your ads, people. We're heading in. All right, one of the reasons I don't want to consume the input in the other system I'm talking about is we would just have to pop it back on. You'd have to add them back. So I almost want to figure this stuff out first. It almost makes sense to run it here. Maybe not. Maybe I need to uncouple some of this. Maybe I need a different system that's figuring out where the cursor is, which I guess is technically the system I'm writing now. And then systems like this, like the sculpting system, will just read into that. Wonder what that looks like. System for system to system to system, I know. I like a lightweight system. That adds some complexity, because then they have to talk to each other or coordinate. I did. I'll hit you with a text laugh. There you go. This is like a really lazy implementation of a command pattern. And I see some of the downsides of it. Oh my glob. Developer Ezra subscribing with Prime. Thanks for beaming up. Thanks for beaming up to the starship, Ezra. I'm part of the crew now. Does that work? I don't know if that works if you're mid-ad. I don't know if that works while you're mid-ads. That would be pretty interesting. You refreshed? Oh. Damn. Thanks for getting us 50% of the way to our sub goal. I really appreciate that. Appreciate the Bezos bucks. You're out. All right. Yeah, it's funny your joke about me just saying certain words over and over and over again. Sometimes I'll get done with my stream and my girlfriend will be like, if you say chunk one more time, I'm leaving you. And I'm like, oh no. Yeah. Stuff like that. All right, I don't quite understand how I'm going to orchestrate this to achieve the goal that I want. I realize that I've coupled some of the coordinates, some of the input processing in here in the system where we sculpt the blocks, quote unquote. But I actually need this. I need to do this earlier in this cursor mapping system. But I still need these commands here. Unless, I guess I could record multiple separate commands. I don't know. I can also just process the inputs and then pop them back on, push them back on to the queue so that someone else can process them. That's kind of the point of passing these commands around.
Logic was impeccable, Captain.
Thanks, Sapphire. Called GF over to say chunking redeem. Luckily, she's not here. She'd be upset with me. Yeah, it's usually me talking about buffers and chunks and components. And blocks and tiles and... All right, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. So from a workflow standpoint, I think we figured out instead of moving the cursor around in a vacuum, which actually, I think I will allow this, but that's just going to be, there's just going to be an offset between where the cursor is and the center of the tile map, which we already know. That's the cursor's coordinate. The cursor's coordinate is inherently the offset between the cursor and the origin of the tile map layer. And so locally within the block, quote unquote, block space, which is the space of the thing that you're building, wherever you plop down that first block, that's the origin. And then you can expand it off of that, right? And then what should happen in the new input is instead of being down here, our cursor would get mapped onto the top of this block, which means you can only really add stuff by extrusion. So like if my cursor was out here now, there would be nothing. Such intricate system. It'd be a shame if it's tightly coupled. Yeah. That's kind of my style though, is I'll usually write kind of a monolithic system first, and then I'll figure out where the joints are, where like the transitional points of it might be. And then I'll start to split it up. Like our cutaway system used to be part of the tile drawing system, and now it's its own thing. And now I think we're gonna have to do the same kind of thing here with some of the cursor mapping stuff and the sculpting stuff. We were doing it at the same time, but I think it needs to be separate. Hey, Commander Apollo, how's it going? Break bone to make joint. It's very true. That is very true. But yeah, what I'm thinking of is we'll map here, but as soon as I put... So let's say I have like some stuff here, right? As soon as I click down, like if I'm mousing here and then I mouse over here, we should pop up to the next Z level. Yeah. And then pop back down as soon as I'm back over here. But as soon as I hold the cursor down, that should stop. So if I'm dragging this out and then I drag up over here, we shouldn't pop up onto the next layer, I don't think. I think it should just be like this. We should be locked onto a Z level when the cursor is being held. Whether that's true or not for play mode, I actually think that's not true for play mode. So if we do like a selection, like if we do a selection down on this level and then we go over this level, we should pop up to the next level because we're trying to select everything, right? Same thing if you're trying to like, I actually don't know what an interaction would look like a magic box interaction that's not a selection, but you're going great. You just joined the Discord server today. Oh, welcome. Commander Apollo. I don't think I saw that. Oh, maybe I did. Welcome in. I know who you are then. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Anyways, gotta get going. Apparently you can't edit video while watching. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the sub. I'll catch you later, Ezra. Go get that evergreen content. You lurk for a bit too, Sapphire? Yeah, no worries, thanks. Appreciate you. All right, okay, I think I understand this. The only real question is the extent to which we start splitting up either the inputs that are coming in or we process them and then pass them along. The commands are classes, so we are passing them by reference. So I guess just dequeuing them and then requeuing them is not the worst thing that we could be doing. Because it's just a queue of references. It's not like we're copying them around a bunch. Yeah, okay. Well, if you got any projects, Commander Apollo, I'll be excited to see them. Feel free to share them in the Discord at some point. I like to see what people are working on. If you're here to just hang, follow the development, that's cool too. Many projects at all times. You'll post some stuff. Nice, nice. Yeah, would love to see it. Double check the content sharing guidelines in the rules. That's great though. I'm not fishing when I say I don't understand what draws people to this community, but I'm glad you're here. All right, so my initial idea was to pass in like a structural change bool so that we could know if we need to reprocess due to a structural change. So this brings up the question is, when do you process inputs? Do you want to process inputs at the top of the frame or at the bottom of the frame so that they can be utilized in the next frame? We could record structural chains as an output. Like if we look at the game.world, which is where we store a lot of, not the world, the game dot, where is this stuff? Output. It's an act, literally just a command. Oh, I haven't even written the acts yet. So we have this list of output commands. I guess we could tell if there's a structural change being made due to just listening to the commands. But I feel like it also might be worth recording that a structural change occurred. So we could have like public bool structural change. Like this seems okay. Is it all right if you ping me in your message? You can always, anyone in the Discord can ping me. I get notifications for every message in the Discord. I'm not super, I don't post a ton, but I see all. But yeah, people can tag me or DM me or whatever for anything. I'm not terribly important. All right, so what I was doing before before is we were running the inputs. We were processing inputs at the top of the frame, which I think would be the method of least latency. And the latency would just be the fact that the Godot process would run kind of... The Godot process is running in its own cadence compared to the C# processes over here. I guess actually it's kind of based on when Godot calls the physics process for this node. And I actually don't quite know how the call order happens in terms of the scene tree. Processing happens in order of process physics priority. Interesting. Nodes with the same priority are processed in tree order or top to bottom. Interesting. Okay, so this node is called first, which is actually quite good. So that triggers all the main system stuff to run. So, okay, so we at least know it gets triggered at the top of the physics phase, whenever that is. Posted in the share your work chat. All right, let's take a look here. Ooh, you got a new GUI that you're working on? Is it okay if I share this? Cool. I mean, I know it's called share your work. This is cool. So you got some GUIs. This is your old GUI. Sorry for the flashbang. Starforge Engineer. Ooh, cool. Is this like a space company management game? I've seen some of this stuff. This is the new one. We'll love the dark mode. Is this like a surfing spreadsheets kind of game? Hell yes. This is my jam. That's awesome. You're writing it in, you said Pygame? Pygame, huh? I don't know much about Pygame. Let me see about that. Pygame.org. About Pygame. It's a set of Python modules designed for writing games. It's written on top of the excellent SDL library. This allows you to create fully featured games and multimedia programs in the Python language. Pygame is highly portable, runs on nearly every platform and operating system. Sick. This is interesting. What drove you to choose this? Pygame CE. Oh, okay. Let me look again here. Pygame CE. Okay. Pygame CE. Free and open source cross-platform library. I like the little logo. For the development of multimedia applications like video games using Python. Simple direct media layer library. Pygame Community Edition. Oh, sick. It's a fork of the upstream Pygame project. By its former core developers. Open source drama. Was created after impossible challenges prevented them from continuing development upstream. More democratic governance model. This looks awesome. Nice community project. We got some funding. Nice. You've been using Pygame since you first started coding in 2020. Something you love. Super intuitive. Due to your years of usage. Yeah. I get that. I get that for sure. That's why I'm writing my big game here in C#. When we do game jams, we just do it in GDScript like every other Godot game. I say every other. Tons of people use C# with Godot now, but if we're doing a jam game, we need a web build. So I think I would be comfortable with Python because my understanding is aesthetically GDScript is similar to Python. I think that might be where the similarities end, but I could see it. But yeah, I use C# because I have a long experience with it. So I'm doing weird stuff in C# that you probably shouldn't do. Like I made an entity component system. You never really got the hang of game engines. The workflow just never clicked with you, especially Godot. Yeah, I'm not a huge visual editor person. Like I don't tend to, you can tell how bare the visual editor is for me here. Like I like to do things programmatically. So I've never been huge on this. I did Unity game dev for over a decade as a hobbyist, let's be clear. But I often would just do everything programmatically. I rarely interacted with the editor. I like the Godot editor better. I certainly like it a lot better. Scenes and nodes is much more intuitive than Unity's stuff, which I explain in a stupid clip. Hey, Magoo, welcome back. Same, you love just staring at code. Yeah, so I prefer that. I'm not like hardcore enough. I'm not like Mr. Magoo. I'm not writing my own OS. I'm not even like, using I could be writing my game in, Odin or something like that. But no, Godot has provided a lot for me while still letting me kind of do my own thing. Like I can write my whole simulation layer here in my own little C# domain and still take advantage of all the features of Godot when it comes to input and rendering and build and like platform stuff. So I find the engine very helpful. But yeah, I'm not such a, I also don't like visual scripting. I know that's kind of the thing people are into nowadays, but it's never really been the thing for me. Tried Odin one time. It was cool. Yeah, Randy does a lot of cool stuff. Randy on YouTube. I don't think they use Odin anymore. They kind of do their own framework, but I was interested following their development because they do more kind of closer to the metal like framework stuff. You've actually forgotten how to use any framework, Magoo. You'll put in an issue. You'll submit an issue on yourself. That's funny. So what we're going to need to do here, we're going to need to figure out where the cursor is, right? Which makes me think that I actually want to maybe split up some of this input handling. I actually need to take a 2-minute bio break here. I need some more water and stuff. I know we're not in ads, but I just need... give me BRB. Thanks for hanging out. Happy Saturday. You watch some oh, we're back. You watch some of Randy's stuff, not your favorite, do their old stuff being cringy. Yeah, for sure. No, Randy's an interesting personality. But he's one of the people that's using more kind of low-level coding stuff, which is interesting for me because that's so not my experience. We're back. But yeah, I appreciate that. All right. So maybe it's helpful to kind of not so worry about the input model to start and maybe just kind of think a little bit more about what we would do. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. How we would process this anyway. Like I said, we need to know when the player has selected or is clicking. Right? We need to know when we're in the middle of something. So that if we're not in the middle of it, we pop up to whatever the right level is based on where our cursor is, you know. Except once we start doing a build. And then we should lock onto a certain Z level. Now, do we still want to lock, even if we're locked on a Z level, do we still want to jump to whatever the nearest face is on the same Z level? Probably. Probably still want to do that, right? You don't want to do stuff like being able to make walls. But we also shouldn't consider blocks that we're in the middle of putting down, right? Which means that we want to operate on the settled blocks, not the preview blocks. Which makes sense. Settled blocks are the blocks that we've committed to. So like all of this is settled, but these blocks that are highlighted, these are in preview only. So they haven't been settled yet, and they won't be settled until I lift off the mouse like this. Now they're settled. Because they're in flux as long as I'm in the midst of the control, the action that places them down. You gotta go. Nice to catch the stream. Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sharing. Catch you next time. Have a great rest of your weekend. Yeah. Okay. You know, maybe we should take this a little bit at a time. Maybe we should take this one step at a time and just not worry about placement yet, but just try to get the cursors mapping correctly. Although now that is going to affect everything else, so I don't think we can gradually do that. What this is telling me is that the input should probably not be processed by the sculpting system. The input should probably be processed by the editor, the block editor system group. Maybe. I don't know. Not quite sure. You don't want to work on your mod? Yeah. Well, it's Saturday, so, you know. Actually, for you, it might already be Sunday, right? Just lazy Sunday it. Just don't worry about it. Not for another 9 minutes. Okay. Well, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nix. For the next 9 minutes, you got to work on your mod. You got to do the right thing. All right. So hey, that's quite a name. DCL MSMS. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Happy Saturday. All right. So, yeah, we have a lot to untangle here. So we've kind of... How do we feel about this lo-fi channel? I wanted something a little livelier. It's maybe too lively. All right, we could do the thing that we've done before, which is we have like an earlier system process the input. It's almost like regurgitating food for your little baby birds. It's like mama bird eats the food, regurgitates it for the baby birds. Sorry for that imagery. But that's probably what we would do here. We could just have a view system. The fact that I want it to behave differently in edit mode versus play mode is providing some wrinkle to how I want to process this. There isn't a lot we do. Oh yeah, no, the block editor system group totally processes inputs. You'll work on your mod first. You'll take a 9 minutes. Yeah, if that's what it takes. All right, so I should probably have like a player input system group that runs early. Probably do something like that. How would the view system do it? Oh yeah, so this would actually input additional new commands if it needed to. That's something we could do. People are still launching fireworks. Oh, man. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Just hold on to them for the rest of the year? Do we process any input here? We shouldn't. The real question is, do I want to map the cursor differently, whether we're in play mode or edit mode? I think the answer to that is yes. And I kind of showed why, which is that if there's like a kind of contoured surface, like if there's a raised surface and you select across the raised surface, if you're just selecting stuff, in play mode, you would want to include that higher level stuff. I think. Maybe not, though. I need to start doing something. The question is where I want to change it. Oh yeah, we're currently short-circuiting the input system, huh? But this isn't really a view thing. I guess it is. How do we currently just pass along just regular old input, like where the cursor is? We have like a hover, right? So tile mapping, game.tile mapping. So we're assigning that value directly. We're not inputting a command thing. So maybe we start with that. Maybe we just start reading the tile mapping raw. And we try to get this system working just off of that. And then we can figure out how to roll that into the wider input system. It's a little complicated because of how we pass coords in when we're doing some of this selection stuff. I actually don't know why we do it that way. I guess it's just in case we happen to process... I don't know. I guess it's just in case we have to process a command back when the player was mousing over a different tile than they currently are this frame. Like if they're right at the edge of the frame or something. I think that's why I did that. Who's calling this though? I think it's the game board. Yeah, so we're just setting this up. Oh, excuse me. Okay, let's start with that. That way we don't have to redo our whole input chain. We can still prototype the system without it. I think. So we'll say if the tile mapping is not the same as the cursor coordinates. Well, we do still want to know about a structural change. We could say or. No, we can do this first. We can say if game. Oh. Game.output. Would we already know about the output? That's structural change. So if there was a structural output, a structural change last frame, or there is an input change this frame. And we'll want to do this. And I kind of talked about the order. Dang, after your break, you still have a minute left on working on your mod? Oh, man. That's tough. Real tough. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to distinguish between, we said we want to distinguish between the left and the right side. So we'll just look at that. We'll look, that's the Z coordinate. How are we going to know? I guess we'll just look at the sign of the Z coordinate, I think. Here, let's do a little debug trickery here. We'll just say print local. Well, we want to print this. Sapphire, you're starting to get a craving to watch some more B5. You think you're going to head out for the night? Catch you all next stream. Thanks, Sapphire. Enjoy that B5. The last of the Babylon stations. Yeah, I think we just check the... We just check the Z coordinates. I know this is a vector too, but that's because I'm just looking at Z and W right now. Because if the coordinate is negative, then what we want to do is we want to check. We want to add the y, the +1y, then the +1x, then the +1z. But if it's positive, we'll do x, then y, then z. And we just spiral up. +x, +y, +z. I might diagram that. Maybe I don't. I don't know. So we check this one, then this one, then this one. I don't like what I did with this input grid. I'm going to do this differently. Yeah, maybe we don't need to diagram every single thing. Let's see. You should sleep, but you're in particle heaven, Arneo. Yeah, once you got your groove going, it's fun to make those particles. It's fun to mess with the emitters and stuff, yeah. All right, so if we need to run through this, what we're going to do is we will clear the hit list coordinates. Which should clear the whole span. Oh, the real question is, you know, there's maybe a reason not to do it this way. Maybe there is. Yeah, whatever. It's just one buffer. You might need to resize it, though. So is there a way to calculate how big that needs to be, how big the hit list needs to be? there a resize command? I forget how I resize these. Where do I do that? I think I do that in the cutaway system. Oh, this is not the right system. Or it is the right system, but it's not what I'm thinking of. Oh, I'm thinking of this one. This is read only. Oh, this gets set up in the flood filling system. That's why. You like a song? Nice and funky? Yeah, it's nice. Big surprise, it's Harris Heller. I'm gonna grab some allergy medicine real quick here. Chair stream. Wow, my feet were tangled up in my audio cable. That would have been funny. All right, so if we need to redefine this buffer, we set the buffer component with a new count. Game.world.set buffer component. All right. We aren't currently doing this, which is fine, I guess. Set buffer component. All right, set buffer component is nice. It allocates a new array if it's greater than. If it's less than, it just slices out the part that it needs to use. And if the length is the same, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so in here, so wherever the cursor is, so if the cursor is 0, 0, let's say we have just a 2 by 2 by 2 grid, right? Here, maybe I do want to diagram this. This stuff is maybe all trash. Let's do this in black. I found it super helpful to diagram like almost everything I'm doing. Wait, why am I doing the whole thing? That doesn't make sense. We're just doing the grid. So this is the grid. Actually, maybe we do the grid in this color. Oops. We'll start with this. Kind of want to reuse these layers. So if we need to, what we want to do, here we go. I think I know what I want to do here. I'm going to grab this. So we want to do this by each face, because we actually want this to be a model for eventually being able to select blocks by their individual faces, because eventually we're going to want to do that. I say I prefer diagramming, and then like everyone watching left. Oh no, we can just keep it here on this layer. I'm just gonna move it out here. So if our input is on the right side, oh, I actually wanted to save this. So we'll say right hand priority 1. We can have a left hand priority 1. So we're working out the order in which we prioritize or record in the hit list. More like that in there. Move that over here. Go back here. Delete the rest of that. Actually, this is not priority 1. This is priority 4. We're just doing a 2x2 grid to make sense of it all. Maybe it would be helpful if this was black. Or if not black. Well, yeah, black is fine. Oh, whatever. I think I prefer that. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if... Make a new layer. We'll call it right-hand input. So right-hand input is... Oops. Like if our cursor is on this side, right? New layer, left-hand input. So for left-hand input means that we are on the left side of a tile. Oh. I'll be a little more careful with how I'm doing this. For some reason. Okay. So if we're on the left-hand side, then our highest priority is right here. This face of the block that's here. Well, that's 4, not 1, right? This is actually priority 4. Oh, we're heading back into ads. Thanks for hanging out, anyone who's still here with me. Appreciate you. I know we started a little late today. So if we're on the left side of this, this is what we're interested in. I'm going to turn the grid off. Ew, ads. I know, Nix. How much did you get done in the 1 minute you were working on your mod? All right, so that's priority 4. I'm going to just delete these. What even is this? Oh my lord. You're still waiting for the prompt to finish? Oh no. What are you doing? Alright, now we'll add left-hand priority 3. I wonder if there's a... I have some concerns about this. No, I think this is correct. Actually, is 4 even make sense? It's just 3. No, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, there's 4. Okay. You're able to open the programs up that you used to work on. You like that angled 4? Yeah, the 4 is nice. It's smaller than the normal 4 we use, but I'll probably use it in some places. If I ever do a kind of layer numbering system, I'll probably use this abbreviated size. All right, so the left-hand priority 3 is actually going to be... Take this. Sorry, we're kind of just diagramming now instead of actually getting work done. I realize whenever I have a hard time sitting down to write the code, that means that I don't have like a good enough mental model of what I'm about to try to do. And I've been trying to be better about that. Now we needed 3. Would it help if I drew the whole block? I think so, actually. Speaking of which, have you had the chance to check out season 2 of the Fallout show? I've watched the first episode. So I'm going to skim what you're talking about. I watched the first episode of season 2 and I liked it. I also like Kyle MacLachlan. Like as a person. Well, maybe not as an actual person. I've never met him, but... So I'm enjoying... I'm interested in seeing his arc. But yeah, I've liked it so far. That's funny. I was actually thinking of a show that I could watch yesterday, and I couldn't think of one. Oh, I need somewhere that has block colors. Where are the block colors? Is that what I'm using? Am I using the inner block colors? I am. Okay. All right. So this face is priority 4. This is the block that it's associated with. You don't know if it's going anywhere. You love the main trio of characters. Oh, for Fallout? Yeah. It's good. Everyone loves Walton Goggins. And Ella Purnell, their character, Lucy, is pretty good. I only saw the first episode, so I don't know what Titus, aka Maximus, is up to. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. That Robert House character is pretty wild too. Robert House kind of reminds me of like how Howard Stark would actually probably have been as a person. Like the deranged reality of what like a Howard Stark type would probably have been. All right. So so the priority 4, so if we have left-hand input, I kind of want an all white color to paste over this. Overlay block. Grab this. FFFFF. Full white. Yeah, okay. There we go. Like this. So I think it's actually kind of hard to talk about or demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Whoa, this isn't right. There we go. Okay, so if we've got this, should it just be like this? Yeah. Or should it actually have been like this? Yeah, maybe I like that better. So if we've selected, I actually don't know. It doesn't really matter. Here's what I'm gonna do. You're more invested in it than the first season. Yeah, I'm interested to see because I'm invested too. Hey, the Retro Engine, how's it going? You managed to tune in live again. Happy New Year. Yeah, thanks, Retro Engine. Sorry it took me a second to see your message. Happy New Year. How are you doing? We're doing good. We're imagining a new input model. Okay, that's fine. So if our cursor is here on the left-hand side of the tile that we've moused over, then we have this priority of, okay, we check, this is our priority face, which is for this block, which is just the origin block. The same block is associated with this tile. This is low priority, so we record this first. And then we check this one. We record this next. And we only record hits. We don't record the coordinates. And you can use the same kind of model. Actually, what we want to do is we want to know both the block we're on and the face that we're interested in. So I guess we do want to record that. Okay, so and if there's nothing here, then we record the next one. Well, whether or not there's anything there, we record the next one. Actually, what I should do instead of duplicating my effort here is I should just duplicate this whole layer. And in fact, I should delete these. Move this over. Cover up that number. Put a nice 2 here. Oh, wait. That's not right. It's not here. It's up here, right? Yeah, it's actually this that we're interested in. It's actually here. Let me duplicate this. Oops. Duplicate this. Hold on. Let me duplicate this. There we go. Keep expecting it to be Control D. It is not. All right. Throw that up there. And now we do the 1. All right, and this repeats. So if we're looking at, I'm actually going to get rid of the rest of this grid. I don't think it's helpful. Unless maybe I did it all the way around. Hey, Mad Lich King. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, I actually think we don't care about the rest of this part. Happy Saturday. Welcome in. Thanks for hanging out here. So yeah, so if the input's on the left side, then we record this block if it's there, this block if it's there, this block if it's there, and then this block if it's there. And we record. You'll also notice that 4 is basically the new 1, right? Or 1 is the new 4, because it's the same deal, just on 1 level up. We're using this kind of hypothetical 2x2 grid. But you can just repeat this process from the underlying input grid. Oh, I can delete this whole layer. So yeah, so we have this input, and then we just boop, 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 Boop. And we record the face that we hit too. So for this, it's the Y face. So for us, it's the 0, 0, 0 block. The Y face of the 0, 0, 0 block. The X face of the 0, 1, 0 block. The Z face of the 1, 1, 0 block. And then the Y face. Then we start over with the Y face of the 1, 1, 1 block. 1, 1, 1. And we do the same thing for the right-hand side. So I can just take all these layers and duplicate them. Turns out adding a fake raycast to an isometric 2D game is not hard, but somewhat involved. All right, so this is right hand input. So this should be easy. We just grab this whole thing. Shift. Oh, well, I gotta grab it correctly here. Right hand input. Right hand priority 4. Turn the grid back on. All right, shift that. Man, I love A-Sprite. A-Sprite is so good. Notice how the only difference between the right hand and the left hand input is whether we increment the X or the Y axis first. So all it really does is affect the priority 3 block. That's all it does. Although it does affect the face that we record for everything but the priority 2 block. All right, beautiful. And we just go through that process as we go up diagonally from the input map base to whatever the maximum is for each. So just whenever we hit the edge of the block space, I guess. So is there a way to count? There should be a way to count how many spots we need to reserve. So we've got our input on the right-hand side. Turn the grid back off. I guess what I should do is... yeah, whatever. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out, as always. If you're working on a hobby project or a passion project today, this weekend, hope things are going good. I hope what you would say to me is no blockers on my end. That's my stand-up joke. Here's hoping to no blockers this weekend, you know. If you're making food, let's hope there's no dishes in the sink. You know. Hoping there's no blockers in life this weekend. All right, so we got our little 2x2 grid. If we're doing a left-hand input, then it goes like this. We've got a right-hand input, and it goes like this. That's pretty good. So for a 2x2 grid, if we start at the origin, that's 4 blocks to check. If we don't start at the origin, then we just need some kind of system that keeps us that. I guess we just need to check each individual component and see when we get to the max. I kind of need an any greater than or any less than. All right, diagram made. Let's look at my vector 3 component stuff. See if I have a way to do this. I wrote my own integral vector. Don't do it. It's kind of neat being able to add utility functions, but I could have just defined extensions. I really didn't need to do what I did here. I'm still tempted to have some crazy operators like minus plus. Minus plus minus or something. I don't know. That would be stupid. I don't know what I'm talking about. But what happens? Where's my less than or greater than? I scrolled right past it, didn't I? Compare to. So the problem is this goes by component. Although all it really does is check to see if any component is greater than from the highest dimension components to the lowest. So if all I'm doing is trying to tell if I've reached the max, I guess this works. No, because this will just return the Z first, then the Y, then the X. And so whatever, if we're at the max on the X, but we're less than on the Z, then we won't know that this way. This is like a really dumb way to do it. I couldn't think of a better way. What we could do is maybe use a clamp to see which components are. We'll just do a component-wise check. That's what we'll do. Who cares? Hey, Mad Lich King. First time chat. What's up? You got a question? Get into chatting mode here. You have a question. You see... Oh, I see. You have been making a game following a tutorial video thing. Since you don't know how to do card game stuff, you're doing it in Godot. Card dragging broke and you can't seem to fix it. How do you cope with the idea that you might have to restart a project because you're going through that right now? That's a good point. That's one of the dangers of using systems that you don't understand. And I don't mean that like, I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm saying like that happens anytime you like choose a plugin, right? And you're like, you want to use it a way that it wasn't meant to be built, and you like dig into the code and you're like, oh, can this plugin actually do the thing that I want? If not, maybe you have to make some fundamental changes to your project. I would say restarting your project is normal. I would say that a game project probably hasn't. I think a game project almost inevitably gets restarted at one point. Like almost always. I think that's okay. If you feel like to change this, you would have to fundamentally change a lot of the different stuff or rebuild it. I assume you would restart because you'd want to rebuild it yourself using a system that you understand. I think that's good. I think that can be a danger. There's definitely... Every game dev definitely has way more experience starting games than finishing games. You know what I'm saying? Because restarting a project counts as like starting a game. It's restarting a game. And you'll each time you restart the project, you'll get back to where you were way faster. So it's like, it took you, when you started, it took you so long to get to where you are right now, even with tutorials or plugins or whatever. You restart, it's going to take you, you know, you'll get there quicker. Each time you restart, you'll get back to where you were quicker. So it's time you'll have to spend. That's a form of development hell. And it's definitely tempting sometimes to just restart. I think if your reason for restarting is that you want to redevelop the systems from the ground up so that you understand them, I think that is reasonable. I think that's a good reason to do it. To like uncouple yourself from a plugin or a tutorial or something like that. Like you learned what you needed to learn from the tutorial, but what you have in mind is different. But yeah, from a morale standpoint, like how do you stay motivated when you do that? It's tough. That can be really tough. Because all of a sudden you lose all your feedback because you're like building it back from the ground up. Card dragging broke. Yeah, that's rough. Does Ezra have any card dragging tutorials? I mean, I'd feel bad just like pointing you to another tutorial. There's a Godot deck builder tutorial series that Ezra made. I don't know if that's the series you're using, but that might be interesting to look at too. Maybe that's described in such a way where it would be easier to understand and to adapt to your own purpose. I can grab that link. Oh, Lord. Ads immediately. But I'm going to link this. Your first real game, and you understand it for the most part. You just don't see what broke in the code. I see. Yeah, if you're just trying to understand the part of the code that broke, that can be really hard if it's a tutorial or if it's a plugin or something. Whereas when you build it yourself, you have this kind of deep intuitive knowledge about what's going on. It's kind of tough. Yeah, I will send you the link. Yeah. Developer Ezra's great. They were here earlier. They do a lot of really great YouTube stuff. It's all in Godot, I think. But yeah, they do some really great tutorial stuff. They're also, they told me they're working on a game course. But yeah, that's cool. We like a deck builder here. Also, we have a Discord, so if you want to ask questions in the Discord, Arnie, how do you use version control? Everyone should use version control. But yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, if you ever have questions or you want to show off what you're working on or whatever, we do have a Discord that's full of Godot developers. We're reasonably expert, but you know, your mileage may vary. All right, so how do I calculate how many spots I need in the array? Because if I don't do that, I need to just make it a list and rebuild it every time, and I don't want to do a list. I want to pre-allocate each time how many spots we would need. Although, actually, I guess I don't know how many spots we would need. Maybe we do just do it as a list. I know if I make it a member variable, then the memory issue probably won't be significant. Yeah, awesome. Welcome to the channel. I'm excited to see what kind of stuff you're working on. And yeah, feel free to ask questions at me, DM, whatever. We try to be very welcoming. Much like driving, you learned about version control in your 30s. That's a good one. That's a good one, Arneo. That's actually not far from me. I'm kind of contemplating a switch to like offloading a lot of my stuff that's in the cloud onto like a more local server. Obviously, I would keep a cloud backup of everything, but like I'm thinking about migrating my Git repository into a local. I just keep hearing all this stuff. I've got everything in Google and GitHub and AWS, and I'm just like trying to figure out how to get more control over all of those systems. Once I have my little Linux box up, I'll probably start experimenting on doing stuff like that, bringing it all on site. All right, so I think because I don't know, I could pre-calculate how many coordinates there are between the cursor coordinate and the maximum. But because I don't know about, I don't want to just restore the coordinates. I want to store the actual list of blocks and faces that are there. So I actually think I want a list of vector 4s. I think that's what I want. I think I want to just... So the cursor hit list, we're going to keep it around, but it's not going to be an entity. It's going to be a list of vector 4i. We'll use the coordinate for XYZ, and then W is going to be the direction of the face. And we'll just cast that to an enum value or something. So we don't need to do any of this stuff. We might not actually even need a ready function. Instead of that, we can just say, we wouldn't get this anymore. Let's say cursor hit list dot clear. All right, not gonna lie, running out of steam a little bit. We can keep going for a little while though. So we've got our model for how we advance through. So left-hand input. So what we need is just we need a simple what's the sign of What's the sign of the Z coordinate? The coordinate stuff is confusing, but the Z and the W are the coordinates within the tile. So it's like the offset within the tile. So if it's left, it's this order. So we can just keep iterating through this. Probably do that with some kind of while statement. And we could do some kind of state counter thing or some kind of... We just need to set up the spiral. So we can just test each coordinate. We can say, like, are we at the Y max? If not, go. Are we at the X max? If not, go. Or if we're at the Z max? If not, go. And then we just go through that order. And then if we're right-handed, we go the other way. Arneo, you went too deep into particles. Apparently sub-emitters are bugged if the parent is local coordinates and the sub-emitter is global. Whoa. Oh, I see. You want one set of emitters that's locked onto the ship, that's like the flame, and then you want another emitter that's like leaving like smoke trails behind the ship as it goes along. Huh. So what, you just make them separate emitters? I mean, first, that's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, first you got to write a bug report. You got to do your duty to the community. There already was one. Ah, nice. Good on you for checking. All right. So yeah, we just need to go through. We know the initial set of coordinates. We know the tile mapping. So we just do a how do I want to organize this? You're going to sleep now? Thanks for the company. No worries. Thank you. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here soon. I know what I need to do next. I just don't think I have the mental fortitude to do it right now. So I need to write up a little heuristic that runs through and builds out a... It's not a heuristic. I need to write a little process that runs through, fills the hit list. The interesting thing is what happens if we don't hit anything. How do we handle that? I could have a status that says cursor hit less. Yeah, I've lost it. I've lost the thread. I was hoping I would make it to 3 hours today. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I've lost the thread. But I appreciate everyone hanging out. Do it. 20 minutes. Hey, Fox Shadow. How's it going? What have you been up to? It's already 1 a.m. I know. It's crazy. Crazy Nicks. For me, it's about 4 p.m. But yeah. You just finished streaming your own dev? Oh, nice. Where was the raid, man? Come on. Help me out. What have you been working on? This is it? Okay. This is the raid. All right. All right. I appreciate that. Everyone's here. No, come on. You're a superstar. We're just going to hang out for a minute before I head out here. Is it worth rating someone? Usually I only rate if I get up into like the double digits. Oh, wait. No, Magoo, before he left, Magoo set up the raid master. Magoo's the raid master. CA2 software is still going. CA2 software is almost at 47 hours of streaming. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they sleep during the stream. I'm gonna have to ask him. I'm gonna set it up though. But yeah, I hope everything's going good for you, Fox, in this new year. This is our year. I don't know what they're gonna do. Are they like connected to a bag full of coffee through IV? I swear that's like what they were doing on the tower, the software, the Primogen's like tower jam. They did that both times they did the jam. They set themselves up with some crazy. Don't just take intravenous fluids, just to stream longer. Crazy. Let's go. All right, Fox. Let's keep this raid train going. You know what I'm saying? CA2 is cool. They do a lot of stuff with Linux. It's more complex than I possibly can understand. But Magoo advocates for them really, really.
Maximum.
And we have a redeem where a viewer can direct our raid, which is nice because it lets me meet new people. So that's an option. Maximum warp, Nix. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for the stream, Rhiannon Journey. It wouldn't be a stream without you all. Appreciate you. We'll be back Tuesday as usual. We'll see how much of this I've figured out. I'm not going to work on it this weekend, but I will work on it Monday. So we'll see if I'm able to figure out how. I want to at least figure out how I'm going to orchestrate the inputs. It's a good stream, albeit it started a bit too late. Almost missed it. Sorry, Nix. I'll do better next time. When I stream on my days off, I usually start a little later, but I need to wake up a little earlier. It's hard when it's just dark and rainy all day. But yeah. I'll catch you all Tuesday. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye.